I've been trying to relax my throat, I've been trying to relax my jaw, and I've been trying to sing from the diaphragm. Why is it that I'm still struggling to sing, especially when it comes to going higher? If you want to sing better, you need to understand this concept. When we are training our voice, at least from a technical lens, there's really two problems that we're trying to solve. The first one is disengaging some of these unnecessary external muscles. For example, the jaw, the tongue, all that extra kind of tension that you might be feeling. But then also simultaneously, we want to learn to coordinate the internal muscles better. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to break this down. We're going to define what these muscles are, and then I'm going to show you how you can start to figure out which problem you're trying to solve. Now, real quick, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan. I'm a voice teacher who works with students from all around the world over Zoom. And really on this channel, my goal is to make learning how to sing as simple and as easy as possible. So if that is up your lane, consider subscribing wherever you're joining me from. If you're interested in working with me, I've got links down in the description below. If you want to inspire our next episode, just let me know down in the comments below what you want me to talk about next. Now, the first thing here is let's define these sets of muscles. The first thing here is the internal muscles or the intrinsic muscles. And as you can tell from the name, they're usually a bit deeper within your neck, within your Adam's apple where your vocal folds are. Now, why do we care about them? Well, it's because they control the things that we do care about. For example, to sing well, at least from a technique lens, we need to be able to change pitch pretty easily, and we should be able to change dynamics pretty easily. And to do this, we have these finer muscles deep within our neck that control this. The CT muscle that stretches the vocal folds and some of the arytenoids that bring the chords together. Now, we can get really sciencey and you can dive deep into the anatomy, but I don't think this is necessary from the lens of learning how to sing. Just know that you need to get good at coordinating these muscles. Now, what about the external muscles in that case, or the extrinsic muscles? Now, I think they are simply the muscles around that, the muscles that are involved in swallowing, bringing food down into your chain. And it's not that they're bad, but it's just that they're not really necessary for singing. And the other part is also muscles around that, muscles that are involved in, moving our jaw, moving our tongue, even some of the muscles that we might clench with our body. All of those are external because they don't really affect the pitch making process and the process of changing dynamics. Now, why is this important? Both of these problems, whether it be, disengaging some of these external muscles or learning to coordinate the internal muscles better, they require a different set of solutions. For example, disengaging a lot of the external muscles is often about, relaxing, trusting that you don't need those things to activate. But when it comes to coordinating the internal muscles, often we need to design an exercise that just allows you to feel one of them moving. For example, being able to just change pitch without anything else happening. And so really the first step for you listening right now, you got to figure out which problem you're actually trying to solve. Is what's getting in the way simply because you're just tensing so much with these external muscles, you're just kind of gripping and tightening with unnecessary muscles, or it's because you lack the coordination of the internal muscles? Or sometimes, and probably for most of us, is it a mix of both? Now, to help you figure it out, I'd love to share, some general cues that I personally have noticed and some of the cues that my students have noticed. So what are some general cues when you are just simply engaging too much of the external muscles? Now, the first one here is I find that when I am tightening and engaging a lot of the external muscles, there's just a general feeling of grip and tightness overall. If I was to compare it to, just speech, there's just a bit more kind of overall kind of squeeze throughout the sound. And sometimes it might just feel very kind of stiff to even kind of just move up and down the range. And for some of us, especially when we grip really hard, some of us might notice a lot like distortion, a lot of extra unnecessary grit in the sound. Some of us also might notice that the voice just feels quite sore afterwards because we've engaged a lot of unnecessary muscles. And last but not least, we notice a lot of unnecessary movements. Often in some of the first couple lessons with my students, we're just simply getting them to not move their head when they are changing pitch. And it's because we're so used to having to engage these external muscles in order to make it work. Now, what about the internal muscles? What are some general cues if we're lacking the ability to coordinate those internal muscles well? Now, the first one here is that there's less of this kind of gripping or tightening feeling, but you just feel like you don't have as much control. So for example, maybe as you're going up higher and higher, you might kind of flip into a falsetto, or maybe sometimes you have to push a bit more volume just to make it work. Or maybe for some of us, we actually might just hit this wall. You're not necessarily straining, but you kind of just hit this wall and you can't really go higher. Another thing that I generally notice is for some singers, especially when they're a bit closer towards coordinating better, is the voice use is a bit more shaky, a bit more wobbly, which means the internal muscles are trying to do the right thing, but they're just not stable enough. Anyway, these are the general cues that I have personally observed and things that I've noticed my students say, but feel free to explore it on your own. But in general, I'd say when you're engaging a lot of the external muscles, there's just a lot more tightness, a lot more kind of effort in order to make that sound. Whereas if you're just lacking coordination, you're often just missing. The voice just isn't within your control. But feel free to explore this and let me know in the comments what you notice. If you found this episode useful, then hit the subscribe button so you can see more of this. If you're on the podcast, leaving a 5-star review really helps spread this word. You can also hit follow there to see more. If you're interested in working with me privately or you want to check out some of my self-study programs, once again, link down in the descriptions. Apart from that, my name is Ivan. I'm your voice teacher, and I'll see you every single Thursday or Friday. Take care.